Hi everyone, welcome to Veterans in Crisis podcast. Today we have Joe Kemetmuller, who is from Tall Image. Alright Joe?
Hello Joe, how you
How's it
right?
going?
I'm
You alright?
good.
Good.
What's up?
So I asked
This
you
is
on
weird,
today
isn't it?
because we want to discuss the new project that we're setting up with Tall Image and VICS. We've done stuff in the past which we'll get on later on about the film and stuff. But Project Connect. Do you want to explain a little bit, or do you want me to start off?
Do you want to explain a little bit about it?
Yeah. So I came up with this idea years ago.
No, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Well, see, you should have explained first, shouldn't you? So Project Connect. It's we got some funding from the Armed Forces Covenant after what's happened with COVID and not being able to see people. You had already had this idea before, so I will give you that. We thought to do stuff digitally, just like we've all learned how to use Zoom and things like that, would be a brilliant way of how to connect with veterans that are hard to connect with, ones that don't want to come out of the house, or like when COVID's happened, have been isolated. So basically, your idea was having a smart device like an iPad with different apps on. Now you take over now because it's all technical.
Well, you know more about it than I thought you did,
Yeah, I see.
quite honestly. So, well, no, that's it. You've got it in a nutshell, really. I mean, one of the problems that you've kind of understood really well over the last few years is the problem with social isolation amongst veterans. Because it's one thing, isn't it, getting someone into a house, but it's joining them into a community that like really makes a big change. And so, I mean, a lot of veterans are older, aren't they? And a lot of them aren't super tech savvy. I mean, that's one of the issues we've come across with the podcast, isn't it? People not knowing how to get YouTube on their bloody phone.
To be honest, you set my Facebook and everything up, so yeah, exactly right.
Yeah.
I'm not
Do
tech
you remember when we first started and you kept texting me with YouTube?
It was only the other day that you said it was spelled you.
All right, so that's part of it, really. I suppose is getting people connected into the digital space and all that, so they can actually communicate. People who don't have devices, we're gonna get them some decent devices to have in their homes. But I suppose like the main aim of it is to reduce social isolation and to expand on that kind of membership that VICS has got. Veterans in Crisis, the way I understand it, it's not just a service, is it? It's not just turn up and get a bit of support. It's a community, right?
Yeah, that's what we've tried to create. Just try to create the sort of atmosphere of being back in the forces, whether it be Army, Navy, or Air Force.
And so, I mean, this can't replace any of that. There's no way it's going to replace it, but hopefully it's going to be a good addition to it, so that if you imagine a veteran sitting at home and can't get out to the ERV or wherever for whatever reasons, you know what I mean, just can't get there too often, or it's too difficult to get there too often. The idea is that your staff there at Veterans in Crisis are going to be able to sort of zoom in and speak to them and communicate with them, and additionally to that, they can hold kind of group meetings, like group Zoom calls and things, and talk to each other like that. I think one of the other benefits of it as well is, do you remember like when me and you used to work together, and we would work with people who kind of, things weren't in order in their lives, and you could set them up in a house, but then other things would go astray. So like going to the doctors and going to their drug and alcohol appointments, going to their mental health appointments, stuff like that. One of the big benefits of having this sort of digital communication is that your staff at VICS can sort of, just sitting in the office, can communicate with them that they've got this appointment coming up on Tuesday. They can put it remotely into their calendars. They can set out all of their kind of goals in terms of their mental health, all of their GP appointments. They can sit and kind of work out a budget with them and say, listen, you've just moved into this house, you've got 70 quid a week from your universal credit. Here's how we're going to help you manage budget. We're going to, set your shopping out from Tesco's. This is what's going to come in every week. So it's kind of, I remember being a worker and putting someone in a house, and that's all great. And then you go back and, do you know what I mean? You go back on Tuesday and everything's fallen to bits. This is kind of hopefully to keep a kind of continuous lifeline, a continuous communication between you and the people that you work with. Hopefully.
I think when you sort of came up with it and we discussed it, I mean, it's probably 2 or 3 years ago. The idea now has moved on because of COVID, and also my knowledge of technology. So the girls in the office have all downloaded this NHS app. I have, I haven't looked at it yet, and that can actually tell you what tablets you're on, what specialists you've seen, which is all brilliant stuff for when clients are filling in forms for, say, PIP or anything like that, when you need to know what doses of tablets you're on, anything like that, which was ideal. Yeah, and you can also get appointments through there, and you can have Zoom calls with the doctors, and that is great.
And that's it, and that is all great as long as you're tech savvy. You know what I mean? Because even sort of like messing about with an app. I mean, I've kind of, when I was supporting people in Gateshead, I was working with homeless people in Gateshead. I can remember sort of taking a guy into the job centre, and the woman he was talking to, I mean, the lad can use computers, you know what I mean? He just never used a computer. He never used a phone. He had one of those little brick phones, you know what I mean? And he struggled with that. And she was just kind of saying, listen, she was trying to get him to do his universal credit diary, and was just saying, look, just do it. Just, like showing it to him, look, it's dead easy, look, just do it. Just press those things. And he couldn't work it out, you know what I mean? It was like a different language to him. And so I think there's going to be a level in this where, I mean, the project runs for 2 years. So hopefully in 2 years we can get Baz using his computer properly. But if maybe, but actually he's all right, and he's all right on his phone and stuff.
Yeah, he's not too bad. I mean, there's other clients that's definitely going to struggle. But this is the whole thing about learning people, isn't it? It can be a massive plus in their life when they can work it. A massive thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's a bit Jetsons, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's a bit like, you got a telly screen thing on the wall or whatever. But I just think the advantage of it is amazing. I actually think it's a really cheap. I mean, there's a bit of money going into it that the Armed Forces Covenant have supported us with, but it's a really cheap way of kind of like maximizing the amount of support you can get, I think, and like really solidifying that community. So, I mean, that's a big part of it as well. Part of it, beyond the sort of tech side of it, they're all going to be branded with VICS. They're all going to have VICS logos over them, just to kind of further sort of pulling together that community and that sense of identity, which I think, I mean, it's just an amazing thing that VICS have done in Sunderland. I think, that's been at the heart of it, that sort of bringing out that sense of community and that sense of togetherness, you know what I mean?
I think that was why we, at the beginning, I think that's why, I mean, other than the bad experience we both had at the charity we used to work at, the reason I wanted to make it to a community interest company, because I wanted to make a community, but I also wanted everyone to be part of that. Everyone in Sunderland can be part of this community. I sometimes feel that with the bigger charities, it seems to be a little bit taken away from the community. And when you're given money, you don't see where it goes and things like that. And I just wanted it to all make everyone feel a part. That's why the t-shirts and the hoodies and stuff are such a big thing, because I think seeing people walk around town, and it's a great feeling when I see somebody that I don't know that's got a hoodie or a t-shirt on.
Yeah.
And everyone, if I'm with my daughter, she'll be like, do you know him or do you know her? And no, I don't. It's great. And you've seen like
because that's what Sunderland's about. I can remember me and you talking about it in that charity a long time ago, and sort of saying, look, this is this is what Sunderland needs. I can remember saying to you a long time ago, you know, there's a lot of charities, like you say, kind of, they end up squirreling things away for themselves, and they end up kind of, rather than being part of the community, kind of excluding themselves from it. And part of that's because they end up focusing on this really narrow sort of thing that they're doing for a really narrow, specific funder. But actually, you know, I've seen a lot of them over the years kind of get pots of money to help veterans, and it just goes down the toilet. You know what I mean? It doesn't go anywhere. I can't, off the top of my head, I can't think of another in the last sort of 5-10 years, decent sort of veterans project that's popped up and done what you've done. And I think that does come down to the sort of character. It comes down to the focus on, you know, veterans are the backbone of Sunderland. They're the, you know what I mean? They're the salt of the earth of Sunderland. And nobody in Sunderland, I don't think nobody in the whole city doesn't know one veteran, doesn't have like a brother or their dad or whatever that was in the army. The idea of those guys coming back from where they've been and sitting on their own in an house, getting pissed, you know what I mean? Nobody wants that. So I think, you know, keeping on that, people are going to continue to keep behind veterans in crisis, you know?
Well, that's what I hope. And people have said we should become a charity, we should sort of branch out further and stuff. But like I say, I think it would lose something. You know, I don't want to take it away from the community. I don't want to. I would want it always to be part of Sunderland. And if even people took the sort of model and used it elsewhere, that's great, as long as they see it started in Sunderland. That's all I really care about, to be honest.
As long as it's got your face on it somewhere.
I'm a bullet, yeah. They can stop putting me on there anytime they want me. I tell you, I'm just happy if they mention Sunderland. They didn't have to mention my name. I don't care, to be honest. Like I said, before this, well, you know, because you set me social media up, I wasn't even on social media 3 years ago. I had no interest in it, not at all. Didn't want to be part of it or anything. It's turned out a brilliant tool for VICS, you know. I don't put anything personal on the Facebook page I've got. Nothing about my family or anything like that. It's always about work. I don't understand people. I see people like do something called checking in places. Like I'm here. I'm at the gym. I'm at the pitches. You know. I don't understand that concept. All that kind of stuff.
Well, it's good for business. I don't know why people do it. I've no idea. I think when people do it when they're going to the gym, it's because they want everyone to know they're going to the gym, right? Do you know what I mean? Or they're going to a posh restaurant or whatever. But it's really a business thing. It's for businesses. You know, it's a marketing thing. If you get people tagging into the ERV every day, then that just shows up elsewhere on Facebook, and so it just advertises your business. That's the mechanism.
Well, I've missed a trick there, haven't I? Because I'm here every day and I've never tagged him once.
There you go.
So I tell you, while we're on about social media and stuff, I tell you that the one thing that I've found about lockdown and social media, I've realised I fucking hate people who put quotes, right, with their name underneath, as if they're Gandhi, right?
Yeah.
If the Gandhi or if the Martin Luther King or something like that. I just put
people have got important things to say, Joe. You know what I mean?
Fuck that, man. It's ridiculous. It's put on
if there was going to be a meme with your face and your name on the bottom of it, what would the quote be, Joe? What's your motto? What's your tagline?
My motto would be: don't be a knob and put a fucking quote when you neighbouring on the bottom. Putting your name and then the date. I mean, it's ridiculous, man. You know, like as if people's going to go, no, he definitely said that in 2021, or no, it was definitely 2019 he said that. I mean, people's not arguing in pubs about that, are they? I mean, no, that is the one thing.
Maybe they are. Maybe that's
it might be this week because they're allowed back in the pubs. So maybe they are. Maybe I'm the one that's wrong. Maybe I'm the one that's missing the whole quote part.
Let's move on, so I don't have to edit loads of stuff out of this. I've got to edit this after this.
Well, don't edit it, man. Don't edit it. Right. So one of the other projects, or basically the main project that we did with Tile Image, was you followed us for a year, or followed me and the clients when I first started VICS. So, little backstory: me and you used to work together, been friends for years. You started doing photography. I started doing VICS. I said, you should make a documentary. You were like, well, I've never made a documentary before. And I said, well, I've never started a service before. So what can go wrong? A year later, we had a premiere at the Stadium of Light, and it was about 400 people there. It went really well.
Yeah, it went all right on the night, sort of thing, didn't it?
It did when you turned up.
Was I late?
You're always late.
I'm always late, but
you said I dropped you off in town to go and buy some new clothes, and you turned up.
To this day, I can't get my head around going into the Stadium of Light, and it's, you know, it's all being played on all the big screens and things. I still can't get my head around going in there. And they were like, yeah, we've got a DVD player from like 1992. You know what I mean? I was like, I can't.
It didn't work either, man. And I ended up going around 5 people's houses to get different DVD players. Stressful, man. Because even the mayor and everyone was coming, and now you would tell me, like, it was starting at 7. I think this was 6 o'clock. I was still knocking on people's doors, asking if they had a HDMI cable.
It was, yeah, it was crazy. I mean, I was thinking about this the other day, actually. Like, I mean, that was the first, you know, as someone who played around with cameras and things like that, you know, you always have in your head, oh, well, you know, I'm going to be a famous documentary filmmaker and all the rest of it. So I was just sort of playing with the idea, and I thought it was a really like amazing concept, just because of the fact that, I mean, there was you developing that charity, but also it's that all the guys that you're working with, all the veterans, they obviously have all these amazing stories. They've got experiences that people like me haven't had. So to sort of be able to capture some of that and get that in, I always knew that would be really good, and I wanted to do it. So as I was kind of like meandering through it and trying to pick bits and pieces up, you just sort of went, oh, and we're going to be premiering it in 3 weeks. So, and I didn't have anything filmed, didn't have any interviews done, nothing. And you were like, yeah, just, you know what I mean? That's it. We've got it done on the Stadium of Light. And I hadn't even filmed the thing, do you know what I mean? Let alone edit it. So ended up editing it in about a week, 3 or 4 days, putting it all together, sort of drawing a narrative through everything and trying to make something of it. And I think in the end, it came out well. The best thing about it, obviously, is those interviews. It's what, you know, what those guys were sharing with us. It's amazing. There's some moments in there where I'm really proud of, just for getting on camera, but also really proud of the fact that, you know, there's a scene with Bob. You know, I think that's my favorite thing is Bob talking about his experiences in Hong Kong. And yeah, like I was just really proud and really privileged to sort of be able to sit in front and capture that on film. Really amazed by it.
It's been sort of well received by loads of people. So we've played it at the university. We've played it for the CCG. I think they had about 5 showings of it with different mental health people there. So a lot of people have been really impressed with it. But I actually had an interview for a part-time job at a university, Sunderland University, on, what day is it there? Oh, Monday I had the interview.
And, well, you know, a professor or something.
Yeah, professor. I'm just waiting to grow a tash. I got there, and one of the questions in the interview actually was, we've seen your film that was made about VICS by Tile Image. No, I'm saying it was about us, wasn't it? So, and then the question was, would you be prepared to make another film? And I said, well, to be honest, Joe's mentioned it, you know, it's just getting the funding to do it. So hopefully something will happen in the near future where we can do a follow-up, you know, because things has moved on dramatically. So if you remember, in the first film, me office was Greg's. You know what I mean? That's how mental.
No, you had an office up with a Civic as well, didn't you?
Yeah, but that was shared with someone. That was shared with someone where I just had a chair.
but he didn't have the ERV. The ERV
No.
wasn't, I don't think, even thought of at that time.
And I couldn't take clients into that office in the Civic.
No.
That's why I take them into Greg's.
But saying that, I mean, you had already done quite a lot. I mean, there was a lot of, you know, everyone was sort of getting together and sort of bonding. And I mean, I think the thing that I found really amazing about it is how many people who had kind of been in VICS for 5 minutes, they'd been there for a month, and they were already like immediately like so excited about being part of this thing. Again, you know, it's that sort of sense of identity. I mean, one of the things, I suppose, as well, being a civilian and looking at it, one of the things I found really interesting is that you always kind of imagine soldiers to be, and people like ex-military, to just be able to get through anything. Do you know what I mean? And what they all said is that they probably could get through anything, but when they left the army, the thing that fucked them all up was that they just had this like loss of family, this loss of identity, this loss of sort of security from having this social group around them. And I think that's what Veterans in Crisis has done a little bit, is to sort of bring that back a bit. And that is, it's almost like, I mean, so some of those guys, like I say, that have been in there for a couple of months, they kind of, and they still say it today, they just don't, they don't want to go home, do they? Do you know what I mean? They just want to keep on coming into it. And mental, huh?
We kind of mentioned this at the beginning of when I sort of like started VICS up, about like every other service purposely keeps the clients apart for confidentiality reasons or whatever.
Right, yeah.
Whereas we wanted to make it inclusive, so everyone knew each other, you know, which was a different concept altogether. And luckily it worked out. But I always thought it would, because that's the only thing. If you asked 100 veterans of any service, every single one of them would say the thing that they miss is the camaraderie.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what service it is, they'll miss that. They might miss other stuff, but every single one of them would say that. So to make that again, you know, to make that feel like you've got that, it's a massive thing. It's a massive thing. And because I only started it on my own, I needed them to be able to help each other. You know what I mean? So the veterans helping veterans thing, that's and texting each other, like a buddy check and things like that. All that things come into it, you know.
Well, again, that's something that I wanted to try and sort of incorporate into Project Connect, into the digital sphere, is some sort of alert system. You know what I mean? Just sort of expanding on that peer network. So when people aren't meeting up on a Wednesday at the Gunners or whatever, you know, they can just sort of, you know what I mean, press a button and say, "You're all right, pal." Do you know what I mean? I said, "Go and have a conversation" or whatever. Just expanding on that peer support thing that you've already got going on.
That's it.
So hopefully,
that's brilliant, isn't it? You know, and I mean, I'm not aware that your idea has been done before anywhere.
No, I mean, I think there's, you know, it's one of those things, isn't it? When you start doing stuff, you realise, someone else has got something similar going on elsewhere. There's, so I'm aware of like one thing that's somewhat similar, but you know, that's fine. That doesn't matter. I mean, the important thing is that the important thing for me is that we can roll this out for veterans in Sunderland. I think, I don't think there's anywhere else in the country where it's happened for veterans in this way. You know, the big goal is to see if it's really made an effect in people's lives in a year's time. You know, I mean, hopefully it will have done. Hopefully they'll be able to use YouTube at least.
Yeah. Well, if they can use YouTube and press that button, if there's someone missing, that's all you need, isn't it? what we do need, if anyone from a university is watching, is a university to do a study on it. So then we have sort of the evidence of how great it has been, you know.
I'm way ahead of you, man. We're already having those conversations there, which we'll talk about a bit more later. But I mean, you've already got someone that's working doing a PhD. Have you not?
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, hopefully we can sort of incorporate that in it somehow as well.
Yeah.
You know,
And
hopefully,
we there's a possibility of us
obviously
getting.
you're going to be the head of Sunderland University
Yeah,
academic.
I think I'm going to be called the vice chancellor or the chancellor. I can't remember. Can't remember which job it was I went for, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'm just
All,
me
all
daughter
that.
me daughter's sewing leather patches in army jackets now as we speak.
You got tweed jackets and things.
Yeah, that's what she said. I've got to get a tweed jacket. I've got to wear it
Yeah.
like with a what do you call them underneath a jacket? What do you call them when people play snooker?
A Gillette, is it called?
No, that's a thing. Waistcoat. I've
A
got to
waistcoat.
start wearing a waistcoat and jeans and brogues apparently. So obviously none of that's ever going to happen because I'm going to be just wearing shorts and a t-shirt and trainers that I normally do. You know?
Yeah, I'll be looking forward to your lectures, man. I'll
Good man, come along, film it. We might be able to get that on YouTube.
And you're right. If there is some money, I mean, one of the, you know, obviously the first time I kind of put anything together doing that film, all I was doing was, all right, well, I'll film stuff then, and then I'll get it all together and then edit it up, try and make a story out of it. So, I mean, I'm hoping, and I've already had some, you know, brief conversations with the university. I'm hoping that, you know, if they are interested in helping us make a second film, that they'll be able to help me do it as well. So like think about all the other aspects of it, the marketing of it, the kind of, you know, there's so much to filmmaking and getting something produced properly. I was just kind of throwing it together, do you know what I mean? Which is why it's just like sitting on YouTube now, nothing's sort of happening with it. But you know, we'll see. I mean, I think there's still loads and loads of content. There's still a big story to be told in it, I think. I mean, one of the things that I was gutted about not having the time to incorporate into it is all the people that have helped you. Like, I really wanted to go around and speak to all the pubs and clubs and small businesses that have got behind VICS and all the guys that have gone out and, you know, done marathons and done all sorts of stuff, raising huge amounts of money for VICS. I mean, they're the guys that have kept it going, really.
Without a doubt, if it wasn't for the people of Sunderland and businesses and stuff, VICS wouldn't be viable. Without a doubt. I mean, when I started, because I didn't have any money, the t-shirts was the only income, you know, and if it wasn't for everyone buying them, we wouldn't have any income to do anything. I mean, obviously I didn't take a wage for 2.5 years, but we needed money to house people. We needed money to buy stuff. I mean, things have moved on drastically now. So we've got like the removal van. So hopefully we're starting a removal business. We're looking at other properties. We're looking at diversifying and just trying to be more sustainable, so we don't have to beg for money. Because that's kind of difficult, you know. You would think people giving you money was easy, but it's not. Like it's quite taxing on the brain. Like
no, it's not, and you know, I think that's one of the things that people who have never worked in these sorts of industries don't really get is that the problem with being sustainable as a kind of charitable organization is that once you've got one funder and that's your revenue, that's how you're sustained, then you're locked into them. You're just doing what they want. And again, that's what, you know, that's why a lot of charities kind of pop up and lots of brilliant projects sort of pop up and then people forget about them because they're just doing this one thing. They're just doing something that this one fund has told them to do. If you can manage to keep it open, keep it sort of open source and get, you know, have those different revenue streams, and then you get to do what's really valuable. You get to do what the veterans actually want, you know, what's actually going to help them.
Well, that's what you know yourself from the beginning, everything's been client led. We actually have focus groups for everything that if we have an idea and we think, oh, would that work? We get like 10 veterans together and say, what do you think about that? You know, and get all their input, because there's no point in me just saying, oh, you're doing that when people don't want to do stuff. I mean, the likes of surfing and paddleboarding and boxing, and we do all that kind of stuff, but I always asked, do you want to do it first?
I was going to ask, how's the surfing going?
It's really difficult, like, to be honest. Really difficult. Right, I've got an injury. So every week I can't even move my arm. But it's really, really good. Like, but we've decided it's more fun doing bodyboarding, because there's a smaller board, so we have more of a laugh than needing to have to stand up, and it's a lot easier to get through the waves. But I mean, we're on week 5, and it's sort of improved mine as well, improved everyone's mental health. Like, because I look forward to Friday, and it feels like every sort of pressure I've had all week after I finish surfing's all gone. But so is me
Yeah.
arm and me elbow and me shins and all sorts, like, because it
Oh,
is really hard.
it's not easy. It looks easy, doesn't it? But it's not.
Looks really easy, eh? I've managed to get on my knees. I've managed to stand up yet. I know.
I don't know why that's making me laugh.
I know why it's really laugh, because you're just gonna say, "Are you sure you weren't standing up?" And everyone thought you were.
I've just got this image of you like stood right in the middle of this really big surfboard. You know.
Yeah, we bought some paddle boards.
Right.
We're going paddle boarding tomorrow, 10 of us. But we bought our own paddle boards from VICS to go down the beach. We've bought body boards. Things that everyone wanted to do, we're managing to get the equipment to do. We've got the chance of a big project coming up now that I can't say anything about. But if that pays off, or if we get that what I want, then, oh man, it's going to be brilliant. Like, absolutely brilliant.
Well, give us a shot, and I'll come and make I'll bring the drone down and make a little film with you and stuff. You know what I mean?
I tell you what, we bought a GoPro, and
I've seen.
we've been using them, but that, to be honest, it's just basically me falling in the water all the time. It's very little footage apart from waves hitting us. But I mean, them a good piece of kit, aren't they? GoPros.
Oh, they're amazing, mate. They're amazing. You do so much of them. Stick them on the end of the surfboard. Get one of the little clips and just stick it on the end of your surfboard, and I'll come over with a drone.
Well, we paid for 8 of them, 4 each week, to go whitewater rafting, whitewater tubing, and they made films as well, and that was good crack, like.
No.
And I'm doing, what am I doing? I think on Via Ferrata, where you sort of climb up and then you walk along a rope, 2,000 foot up. So I'm doing that in a week's time, me and my daughter. So I'm gonna put that on my thing, then shake it when she's walking in front of us.
It's not for me, not for me at all. I couldn't be
No,
doing
you'd be
that.
right up for that, man, Joe.
No, I get scared like standing up in the cinema. I don't. I get vertigo, mate. You know what I mean? That's not for me. I ain't climbing up. Do you remember that? Who was he? The poor lad who died. Who was the
Neil.
Huh?
Neil.
Yeah, poor Neil. And Neil was a lovely lad, wasn't he? Do you know what I mean? And but my God, I haven't laughed. So I don't think I've laughed so much since watching him standing at the end of that pole, like it was 1,000,000 foot in the air. Do you know? Just, I think he had like everything around it. He had his like legs around it, his arms, he had his jaw around it, man. It's so terrified, wasn't it? I'll drop the footage of that in because it's so funny.
I always remember he just shouted, "I'll just stay up here like forever." I mean, even you were shocked at sort of the banter then, and the sort of instructors, because everyone was just shouting at him, like winding them up and stuff. You know what I mean? Because that's how he would get round. If we are mollycoddled, he wouldn't have got round.
Well, there were 2 female like proper instructors from the place, weren't there? And they were there kind of like encouraging him. Look, just put one foot over here, and then you had you boys underneath just slagging him off, basically, just what I mean, making it as hard as it possibly could be for him, and humiliating him into having to like jump down. But eventually he done it, right? Eventually, he was. You berated him enough that he was like, I have to get off of this thing. Otherwise, I don't know what the consequences are going to be. And then he managed to get down and then chucked his guts up everywhere, didn't he?
He did. 2 of them did. I tell you what,
I didn't know what to film because I was like, right, I've got to get in on that. You know what I mean?
Can you remember rope in the face guy as well?
Rope in face. I think everyone remembers rope in face.
Oh man,
Rope in face. That was funny. That was one of those things where people would just. I think I was trying. Who was the guy? I always forget his name. Dave. Is it Dave?
I don't know which way you mean.
There
was a Dave.
Yeah, what's his surname?
I
Dave.
don't know. He was on the film.
This is like that, you know, Dave. Yeah, you know, what's his second name? Dave.
Dunn.
David Dunn. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah, he was when I was trying to interview him, you know, and it was all serious, and we were because he's been through some serious things. Do you know what I mean? So we were having this really serious conversation, but then it must have popped up in his mind, and he just sat there pissing himself. I was like, well, I can't put this in, can I? Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's just fucking brilliant. Like that trip was just amazing. Like it was just a right laugh. You know what I mean? It was saying that's the thing about bonding, wasn't it? You know, them lads. When we went away to the lakes, and we went up in my car, and them lads got in the minibus. When we got to the lakes, the guy said, "I can't believe that you got all of them out of the same regiment." And I was like, "The one who just met each other when they got in the thing," and he was like, "That." You know what I mean? He thought that they knew each other for years when they'd only drove from Sunderland to the lakes. Can you remember when the client turned up with a big pot of chili, a baseball bat, and some stink bombs to get on the bus?
Oh yeah. Did he have like a crossbow or something with
no,
him?
it was a stick.
Wasn't it? It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like on a school trip, isn't it? You're like, what have we brought here?
Why have we brought stink bombs?
What are you on doing it? Do you know what I mean? What do you think this is? Yeah, it's hilarious.
Oh, it's happy times.
I think the most enduring memory for me was like waking up on top of or on the bottom of a bunk bed and seeing Baz's bare fucking arse climbing down. Do you know what I mean? That's what. See, I'm a civilian. I'm not prepared for stuff like that. I don't. You know what I mean?
No, you'd have been all over it if you were in the Navy, mate. Right, hey, man. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, no worries.
Really enjoyed it, and obviously we'll try our very best to get this film sorted out. But on Project Connect,
Project Connect. Yeah, so I've got to book something in with you for the next couple of weeks, and that's what I'll be trying to do for the next couple of weeks, is having conversations with yourself and the staff, and trying to work out how it's going to work, and also also with all the veterans.
Okay. Nice one. Well, we're due back in the Gunners on the 1st,
right? So
maybe a consultation group then, when there's people there, and ask their advice.
Yeah. All right. Nice one.
All right, put that in, mate. Right. Nice one.
Okay. Take it easy.
Cheers, Joe. Bye.